Microsoft Agent 365. So this is a recent announcement coming from Microsoft, which is a platform that should help manage and govern and organize the AI agents attached to your organization. Now, there's a specific part of this announcement that I am super excited about and I think is actually quite a big deal, and that is the partnership with N8N. So these are the list of various partners here, and one of these is N8N. And for those of you that are unaware, N8N is an automation platform that is developer friendly that I use very frequently in various agent builds. So there's a new Microsoft Agent 365 trigger node on the canvas. Now, interestingly enough, back in November, I actually made, this wasn't even November, this is almost a year ago. So I made a YouTube video where I took a Copilot Studio agent and I ripped the guts out and I webhooked out to N8N. So I want to watch that here with you because I'm feeling fully justified in that decision now, because now this is an official, Microsoft has blessed this, instead of me just being a random developer trying to consult with these organizations saying, hey, you should do this. Now Microsoft is backing that. So let me move over real quick. All of those home. So every single request comes in here and webhooks out of Copilot Studio. Here we go. And here's the document. Support instructions with a link. Okay. How did I do this? Why did I do this? This is webhooking out to an N8N agent where I have better control of what's going on. Oh, I didn't even mention this. Okay, so you get the kind of gist here. But anyways, now this is an official partnership. So let's watch this one.
Flow templates. Introducing the Agent 365 node, an N8N agent with enterprise identity, permissions, governance, and MCP tools inside Microsoft
We're going to talk about those
365.
MCP tools in a second.
Here, Alex creates an agent inside N8N using the Agent 365 node, the construct that brings chat, memory, and tools into the workflow canvas. This node is the bridge into the Agent 365 ecosystem, connected via a webhook URL and secured with credentials. With one toggle, the agent can access the Microsoft toolset, like Outlook, Teams, Word, while still running through N8N's orchestration layer. Alex then connects the A365 agent node to one of many chat LLM models. He can also connect it to a memory node if needed. Because this is a sales agent, he also adds tools from Salesforce and ServiceNow to pull in account and support data. After the agent blueprint is published to Microsoft 365.
Okay, so this basically talks about some of the stuff set up on Microsoft side, but you get the general gist. Okay, we've got an agent that is attached to the Microsoft 365 license that is coming through and get authentication into an N8N canvas that allows us to do a ton of different things. So let's talk about why this is a big deal. Okay, before, in all of these N8N builds, if you wanted to use a various piece of the 365 suite, you had to come in here and for each one of these things, set up credentials. Now, if you were on cloud, what would pop up every time you double clicked into this, you'd get this permission, N8N cloud would like to access, and then it just lists pretty much everything possible. And that's because there's a lot that you can do with each of these N8N nodes. For Outlook, it's get calendars, send a message, schedule, there's all of the things that are listed here. I'll just kind of show you Outlook itself. Look at all of these actions that are tied into. So as you can imagine, when cloud goes and asks permission from your organization IT network, it has to ask for everything. Even though your build might not use everything or utilize everything, it's a blanket request. and I know this from personal experience, this would drive the IT department crazy because it's like, hey, what we got to give all of, if you combine Outlook, Excel, SharePoint, team, you basically open up every permission possible for N8N Cloud in order to do even just basic functionality here. So there's a lot of friction in the conversations of trying to get this authentication and permission set up. And also, you might have multiple users that you want to attach this to. So it just became so much in order to get a base level functionality. But now what's going to happen is, and I kind of drew this little quick drawing here. Basically what you do is the Microsoft 365 side, you go through the CLI, which is brand new, and they've put together all of this stuff, and it's a walkthrough. Hey, we're going to set up a blueprint of this agent, and we're going to set all the permissions and all of the things to it that inherits a lot of the stuff that your organization has already put into this. And we're going to output an ID, a bot ID, and then anybody in your organization that you allow, you can go and then create its own instance. And it's basically like clones the blueprint for the specific user. So if I take this blueprint and I say, all right, I'm going to download this onto my own license for Connor, then my Outlook, my Excel, my SharePoint, and all that stuff is automatically tied in to this instant of the agent. And then for where you're going to go out and use this particular agent, whether it's in Microsoft Teams or you mention it in a Word document or you pull it into an email thread, similar to how you do with Microsoft Copilot agents currently, it's the same thing. But each time that you mention this bot or call this agent, that's when this webhook hits this particular trigger. And instead of having all of these, having to set up manually, the 365 agent is now controlling that, and it's already set up for you in a much more streamlined way, much more controlled way. And especially for the IT and security teams of these orgs, it's much more clear what this has permission of, what it doesn't have permission of, where the various strengths and weaknesses of the agent itself. And it just becomes a lot easier when you're having these discussions and you're building this stuff out for these companies. It gives a lot more clarity. And not to mention, as I'll show you the video here in a second, it inherits all of the other Microsoft Defender and Entra and all of these other tools that can use that tie into Agent 365 to allow this agent to be built for various teams. So the webhook hits N8N, this trigger agent, and it passes the conversation ID and the user info specific for the instance. And then this is a normal agent, right? It's got a chat model, it's got LLM tied to it, it's got memory, and it's got tool calling. It's got the full, I can call other N8N workflows, I can execute code, I can do a bunch of different things here. But for the 365 side, this is already set up as the MCPs, which it gives you access to Outlook, Teams, Word, Excel, Calendar, SharePoint, OneDrive, like pretty much whatever you want. And you get to set this in the beginning as part of the blueprint step, which is great for, let's say that you are a consultant or a freelancer or somebody that's coming in and building an agent for this organization. You let the IT team for the org say, hey, you set up the blueprint. Here are some suggestions I have, by the way, or whatever I need for this particular build. And then they pass off these two IDs, and then you get to go back into N8N and build out this agent functionality wise. So it's a really nice break of work for a lot of these agent projects. And I'm excited the fact that we finally get something that has real structure attached to it and is also specifically endorsed by Microsoft. They just put on a video here, which we could kind of go into some of the setup.
A user can easily create an instance of the agent from the Microsoft Agent Store. Now let's see.
It's got step-by-step to get up setup process, but eventually you actually need. You do need a couple of prerequisites.
This right here is the actual CLI setup, and N8N has put together a Notion doc, which I will also put in the description, but it pretty much does the walkthrough. Hey, this is what you need to install this thing.
It's for this, you do need a Microsoft.
Let's see. So I'm not going to go through the CLI stuff. This is him in terminal going through. You could, here we go, inheritable permissions here, Microsoft Graph, Agent 365, Observability API, Power Platform API, giving OAuth 2 to the Graph and stuff like that. So you can see all of this stuff going through, creating the blueprint client secret. So this is one of the things that you will need in order to pass along to the agent on the N8N side to set this up. So you go through this. MCP tools, so knowledge tools, web search, 365 Copilot. So you get to actually set up in basically a JSON file. Hey, these are all the things that I want this agent blueprint to be connected to have access to. I want to do it for this specific team. I only want the sales department to be able to download this thing. You can get really granular from a permission side, which makes all of the IT and security departments super, happier than they were previously is probably the best way to phrase that, right? Are they ever really happy? I mean, I don't know. Depends on who you're working with. I hope they are. So what else? Okay, so this is basically going through what is in 365
manifest zip file
and dropping the
directory. Here it is.
Manifest zip file in here and uploading it to the admin.
If you've configured a custom icon, that's going to show up. We do see our name come through.
And if you had any experience building with Copilot Agent, this is very similar. You'd get the little robot icon. It'd be attached to your name. It's almost does a very, very similar process.
And then we can activate it and scope this by actually letting just specific users create agent instances here.
Right, you can make the agent for just one person. It'll only allow a single person to be able to install this as well. And then the specific users and groups, you can, dictate that based on your own groups in Microsoft. Where else?
Actually, that's the only thing it needs. And then we can connect Marion to agent.
So this is dropping the tenant ID, the client ID, and the secret. So the secret is the one that you get from going through the CLI commands. These other two can actually be found in Azure in addition to the CLI.
Because I like to map credential apps button, and we want to go to the section agents for your team. And like I've been mentioning, I've been testing a bunch, so I have a bunch of entries here. And the latest one that
So this is in Teams, and basically what he's done is now that this has been uploaded, this agent is now available for him to click and start conversing with from his ad. Basically adds it as an application. This is an agent tab, agents for your team.
We're just building, and we named it Dylan, just popped up here. We open this. And again, we see, the icon, the description, the name, and all of this come through.
And just to note that this might take a couple of minutes for anybody.
So once again, remember, this is creating an instance for the specific individual. So this is David here. David is creating the instance for him attached to his particular account. I'm going to drop this entire video for those of you that want to watch the whole thing. Just for, time's sake, I'm just kind of going through this quickly. As I want to show you basically what the end output for this looks like.
The agent 365 trigger, and then, as you can see, we have a response. Let me jump into N8N so we can actually see the execution of this. So back in N8N, and we bring up the executions view, and you can see this was us chatting. Hey there. And the agent responding. Hey there, how can I help? Now, obviously, we haven't covered a bunch of stuff. We don't yet have a system prompt on this, which is a shame. we'll have to work on that. And then we also haven't yet enabled the Microsoft WorkIQ MCP tools. And let me just toggle this. We have a second layer of configuration. Basically, we can say, do you want this agent to be able to use all the tools that it can, so the blueprint that we've configured, or do you want to restrict it at this level and say, I don't know, only let.
So you can see here in this drop down, these are the MCPs that were in the blueprint available already. So this is an additional layer from N8N side in case you wanted to further restrict what this agent had access to. So that obviously depends on what the build is and what you're trying to do.
It actually use Excel, Mail, and OneDrive. But for our use case, I'm going to go with all. And then let me just bring over a system prompt that I have pre-configured so we don't have to watch me write. So coming back here, I've pasted my system prompt over here. It's telling basically the agent what role it has, tools it has.
Can you expand that up so anybody can get a screenshot of that? Perfect.
And this is a very bare bones setup, right? It just covers a bit of context setting for what this agent is, the tools it has, and some operating principles for how to work. So yeah, now we have the WorkIQ tool set up. We have a system prompt. We can now wire up memory and then to other tools from the N8N side as well. So let me do that. For now, I'm gonna use our simple memory, but obviously you can use any memory provider that N8N supports for the overall N8N AI agent node. And we'll have to define a session ID key. Basically, how do we want to scope conversations so that messages that one user is sending to their instance of this agent doesn't bleed into another user's instance of this.
And as a reminder, so this canvas is the entire blueprint. So every agent that is spun off of this will go through this particular workflow canvas. And then obviously setting the session ID is important. Basically, you want to isolate each instance.
Same blueprint, right? We just created Dylan V01 and it's working with us. We are the manager of Dylan V01. Someone else can go and create a Dylan-based, that's the blueprint, a Dylan-based agent instance. And the N8N workflow is trigger node. This is uniquely scoped to one conversation surface. For example, when I am chatting with Dylan V01 in a DM, this is one conversation ID, this DM thread. If I'm mentioning tools on the Microsoft side like Word and so on, but with N8N, we can extend this, infinitely with services outside of the Microsoft ecosystem. So for example,
Let's see if I can find. I don't think they do. Here we go.
Our Dylan V01, and let's first ask it what tools it has access to. Oh, here we go. So we get kind of a condensed.
So this is Teams, SharePoint, Planner, Excel, browser, web search. So all of this was set up by the MCP, and then Asana, PagerDuty was additional things that were brought in as tooling.
And list spec, and it sees that it has Asana, PagerDuty, it can message an Anthropic model, and it knows that it has all of these built.
I think he's going to do a email to himself here. Please pull all incidents from PagerDuty and insert them into an Excel file and share.
Ran into a file upload error. Let me just ask it to try again. Oh, there you go. I actually got an email notification here. So let me jump into my Outlook, and there you see Dylan V01 invited
So
you
that's
to
the
view a
agent name
file.
from
Let's
the
have a look.
instance.
There we go.
Created an Excel file.
Amazing.
We have the Excel file. It decided to give it the how activities being.
There's another. There we go. So the
Our blueprint, right? We can see what instances have been created off of this blueprint, right? Right now it's just Dylan V01. And then on security, if you go over here, you can see how activities being monitored in Purview and link into Entra from here. And then as well as do advanced hunting in Defender to basically drill down and have a super granular view into the activity of all of these Agent 365 enabled agents inside of the Microsoft ecosystem.
Amazing.
Perfect. So I think you guys kind of get the gist here, but basically what I hope happens now that this is actually a legit Microsoft supported combination is we will start to see those organizations that were either running into issues before due to authentication with N8N now have the availability to spin up agents a lot more quickly and a lot more straightforward in order to do a bunch of various positive use cases for specific teams within organizations, for organizations themselves. So I think this is a great W for both businesses and specifically for the consultants and developers and those of us that are in the N8N ecosystem to get in here and start building some real stuff that is powerful. And we don't have to stay within the Microsoft UI and application UI in order to extract the functionality that we want from these agents, because look, they require a lot of custom tooling, injecting code and various things. So this is great. This is a great introduction. I will say V0. So that video that I just showed you just went down this week. So I haven't even got into the platform yet and started digging around, but certainly excited to get some of these agents out as proof of concepts and tests to these businesses. And I think the sky's the limit with a lot of this stuff. So I'm curious to know what you guys think. I know this is really just kind of a first look and a quick discussion, but I think this is a huge win. So hopefully more tutorials and some more examples to follow. Have a good one.